Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another CRV video here. I'm just going to go over the newest script, taxes solo script. You won't need any dependencies from me. As far as CRV goes, you will just need VORP core, basic dependencies, and SQL, MySQL. And the rest of the dependencies, if there are any in the future, will be listed on the typex page for you to see. So where you have your NPC set up, and the location is where you'll go, obviously, for the players, where your players will go in your server to open their tax ledger. For me, I just have it set up in here for the display, for the showcase, to show you how this works. So you will hold left alt. That's what I have it set as right now. And I'll open this menu. On the left here, you see total wealth, tax bracket, amount owed, collection date. And I'll go through each one of these. Total wealth is the amount of wealth from each holding on your character's ID. So for now, because I have $0 in his bank account, right, because it's the only one showing here, he has $0 total wealth. And I will go more in detail on how this works in the config. But essentially, this script, you can add as many databases as you want that have an option for money in them, and it will read those different databases and apply that to this total wealth cash only. So cash, it's only set for cash. In some areas, I'll explain the rest as we go. And then it tells you the tax bracket you're in also can be edited and changed in the config, the amount owed per your tax bracket, and then the collection date. So here you will see a couple of things. You will see the assets and holdings, which is going to show you your personal bank account, depending on the bank script, which I will show you how to set the databases up later in the config. But it will show the bank account database, cash on hand database. So you have a company script database, if you choose to put that in here, and so on and so forth. Wherever money can be stored as far as cash in any script that you have in your server, as long as it's connected to this through the config, it will show up in the assets and holding, and then it will display all of the cash in each one of those in total wealth. Here is where you can prepay your taxes. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. This is also editable. You can also edit this in the config for your players, and then they can click prepay if they wish to prepay in advance of the taxes. Taxes do auto collect, so this is a nice feature if they want to prepay. Income record. This shows the amount of money you've made weekly and then monthly. So you can see here, this is the income from 1/1 of this month, so 1/1 of 26, 1/1/2 26, and so on and so forth until you get to 2/18, and it continues. And then this is your recent income records at the bottom. So I'm gonna simulate income real quick with a command that's on the script. This command will come with the script for developers to, or server owners to test to make sure everything is working correctly. It is just test income and then the number you want to test. I'll just do 500. This is test 500 was recorded. I will then open this back up and it simulates $500 income. That is the only way you can test this by admin controls. You cannot give yourself money and it show up here. It won't. It ignores those kind of income rates. It ignores money given from admins. However, if you give players like this, it will also ignore this because this isn't really considered income in a certain way. It's only reading selling items to certain scripts and making money through other scripts that update naturally. If money is given through an admin command, it won't show up here. This will show up on certain cases. The script can tell the difference between a player-to-player transaction or admin giving money and so on and so forth, that kind of transaction. So that's what this does here. You can see today is the 23rd of 2025, and it shows that my $500 went up on a Monday right here. Then we have this other window, which is the tax history. Every time you pay taxes, they will show up here. Payment receipts will show up, tax collected, and then obviously there's 0 because I haven't paid any taxes. And then at the bottom, you have the tax brackets. It shows you each tax bracket and the one you're currently in. That's the one I'm currently in right here. It also shows you the rest of the tax brackets and the percentage for each tax bracket. This can also be changed and edited in the config. I'm going to go ahead and give myself some money, put it in the bank, and then I will show you how that works. Go over here. Let me set the time to open. This is just the native VORP script bank. I will show you how to, like I said earlier, link it to other banking scripts if you're not using VORP Core's just native banking script. Obviously, we'll open this and I will deposit $100. And then I will open the tax bracket back up. Tax bracket to tax ledger. And you can see now it shows I have $100 in my bank account. It says I owe $5 per the 5% of the low income tax I am on. And it says that will be due on March the 26th, 2026. 31 days until next tax. But I can prepay. If I prepaid 1 month of taxes, $5, next collection date push forward. If we scroll up, April 26, 2026, 62 days until next tax. If I go to tax history, you can see here, it has the tax receipts and my total collected over my entire time of paying taxes. That shows here. All of this can be edited and will be explained more in depth once I go to the config, but that is the menu and how it works. All of this that you see is configurable, and I'll go over that now. Let me just go to my config. This here is the config for the tax script. As you can see, this is the Valentine office, St. Denis office, Blackwater office, and you continue adding more, as many as you want for your server. Here at the top is days between tax. So right now I have mine set to a month. As you can see, the comment here says how many days between automatic tax collection. 31 equals monthly. You can do a week, you can do 20 days, however you see fit. That is perfect for your server. Underneath that right here, we have max prepay months. So what this is saying, if I go back into the game, if I scroll this, you see this says 4 months. If I was to change this from 4 to 2, you would only see the option for 1 or 2 months here, not 1 to 4. This here is the amount of months I can prepay ahead. So what this does, if I go back in here and prepay another month, you will see it says I prepaid again, so it's pushed to May. If I try to prepay after that, it says you've already prepaid 2 months ahead on taxes. Wait for the next tax period to pass, and then I could prepay again. What this does is it limits your players from prepaying in a lower tax bracket, and then once they move up tax brackets, having their taxes prepaid and not having to pay their taxes after that. You can take this all the way down to 1, or you can completely disable this. Right? You can completely disable this. You can just set this to false, completely disable. It will not get rid of the NUI, however. Just keep that in mind. This is the debug. If you ever have issues and need to put in a ticket, please turn this on so it will print the debug in your F8. If you're not getting an error. This is the prompt distance. This is the distance for the prompt to show up from the NPC or wherever you have the chord set to. This is the prompt text. View your tax ledger. That's the bottom right there. View your tax ledger. And then here we're going to get into the tax brackets. These tax brackets are configurable, as I said, as well as their taxable percent. So here's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, or 20, 25. And then this is the minimum wealth needed to be in this tax bracket and the maximum wealth. And then it continues on. And that's, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory from there on. Not super hard to figure this out. And you can add as many tax brackets as you want. We continue down. This is where the magic happens. This is where the script really comes to light, and you can really play around and continue editing and changing and adding scripts and whatnot. So the way this works is there is an order to these database collections. So for your wealth resources to be called later on, they have to be mentioned first here in the config. As you can see here, this is the bank. The way this works is this is the name, bank account. So if I open this guy back up, you'll see it says bank account. That is the name that will display on the menu. And bank users is the table. So if I was to open this, if I scroll down here to bank users, you'll see that this is the table for the VORP banking users, right? So that's that there. It then gets the identifier column in the bank users table, and then it goes to the money column of the bank users. And that's where it pulls the money for this script. And that's pretty much the flow for any database. But for instance, for the characters, if I wanted to add the money from my wallet, I would put that in here. I would set this to true. I would name it whatever I wanted to name it. This name does not matter. It's just whatever you want to show up on the menu here. And then the identifier, you always have to get the identifier or else you will have issues. This is getting the character's ID so that it matches up properly with their bank accounts, their wallet, and so on. Always get the character ID or identifier of that database for that script you're using. Has to be mentioned here. So then if we scroll down, so I would set this to true if I wanted to get cash on hand, which I do in my server, but just for the showcase, I'm not going to do that right now. If I scroll down, you'll see it says right here in the comments, it gives you a rundown. But this right here, it says all it needs to say. Taxes are collected in this order. So it is set up to pull from the first one first and then check the rest of the databases to be able to pay taxes on auto pay. So the way this works is it will check the first database given. Primarily, I would recommend always using your bank as the first database because the script is set up for the first database to be the bank. And it is also set up for each bank account. So it will go to the first database, which should always be your bank script, whatever bank script you're using. And then it will go to whatever bank account. So the identifier here, right, which is the character ID or player ID rather, or that character. And then it will go to each bank account, figuring out which bank account has the most amount of money in it, and it will tax from that bank account first. That is if your players have not auto-paid their taxes yet. If they've already auto-paid their taxes, they don't have to worry about this. But if you're relying on auto-pay where the taxes are automatically pulled out of your account, then it will pull from the richest account listed in the databases first, from bank accounts first as well. And then after that, if there's no money in the player's bank accounts at all, it will then check the next one, which is cash on hand. But I have cash on hand up here set to false. If you were wanting to use it, it would have to be set to true. You want to set this to true as well. Uses VORP's remove currency, so all updates live. If you're using a script that is obviously needs the VORP core, I don't know why I'm saving that because the script only works with VORP anyway. So you will set this to true as well if you're using this. So that's how the tax payments work. There's more comments here for you to go through and explains how all of this works. Again, gonna go over this real quick. Currency type is 0 is cash, 1 is gold. So if you are using gold in your server, make sure that you are specifying which currency type that you are wanting to pull from the current the cash on hand or character's pocket. Anyway, it's not so much important. If you're wanting to use gold, you would then add the currency type. So I would add a space here, add currency type, and then put 1 for gold. But this will naturally pull cash because it is the money column. Again, depending on your bank script, this can differ, but you have to pull the table first, then the identifier for your script, and then the column in which the player's money is stored. So that's how that works. Same thing with this. If you're wanting to get the money off your character for VORP, that's how you do it here. Currency type, the column it's stored in, and then the character's identifier. This here, partial, what it means by it takes everything across all resources. This is only going to take the amount owed if it can be paid. If the player does not have the amount owed, it will not be paid. So say they have multiple bank accounts, they have $100 in this one, $100 in the next one, $100 in the third one. Say they owe $150. It will pull 100 from one and pull the 50 from the next bank account before going to the next database. And then to log console, it will bring every collection to the server console as is set to true. If you don't want that, you can set that to false, and then your Discord webhook is there as well. So that's pretty much it. Super simple to set up, and it's super configurable. If you need any help or have any issues, don't feel ashamed or whatnot to open a ticket in the Discord. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and that's CRV Taxes.